Okay, so this is our first ever Heart of the Story Zoom linked phone call. We're getting real about marriage, Shelley.
During this crisis, where marriage during a crisis, truly.
Right. Marriage during the middle of a crisis. What do you need to know when your spouse is in the house? And how is this affecting us? I'm coming from California. Shelley, you're coming from...
Yeah, from Short Hills, New Jersey.
Right. So we're coast to coast. We're all the way across the country. And I want to know how it's going for you all really quickly.
Whew. I mean, I cannot believe this is week almost 8. And I don't know about you, but I mean, my husband commutes into the city. So it has been so different. No early mornings, late nights, you know, he's here 24/7, basically kind of sequestered in one room of the house, phone call after phone call after phone call. And it's been a really, really big adjustment. I mean, for him, for me, but you know, he didn't work from home. He's never home. So to have him go from never really home to always home is a big adjustment for everybody, and all of us being home too.
Right. Okay. So for me, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I have a husband who's home all the time, who works out of home and then travels. So not only is he home, but now I'm working out of home. Now my kids are in school out of home, and my adult children came home. So it was everybody working out of home all at once. And it wasn't like a Christmas or an Easter vacation time. So it was like trying to do real life in the middle of a crisis. And honestly, it was, I have some friends that it's been a big vacation for them. We haven't found that. We've been trying to, you know, run businesses and run ministries and run school and run households and everything in the middle of a quarantine. And it's very stressful. It's put a lot of stress.
Yes, that's what I hear time and time again, is how stressful it is. And I really do believe that. It's funny, little things become very exaggerated. I have a really funny story. You know how husbands and wives, we argue about the heat. You know, he wants it one way, I want it another. Or we can argue, I know when dinner is ready, I like everyone to come. If it's hot, I want them to eat when it's hot.
Right.
Those little things. So this morning, toilet paper roll. The toilet paper is down to one sheet on the roll. And I know I better change it because he's not going to change it. And it wouldn't normally matter. But for me, things like that matter. I like the toilet paper roll going a certain way. And if he's going to change it, he's going to do it the other way. Little things that I'm used to doing because it's my house and I'm usually the one doing it. All of a sudden he's in it and trying to do things and I don't like it. Right. So as simple as that is, it's almost like you need to redefine the roles.
Totally.
And that's really what it is for me. I find like, no, I don't want you doing that because I don't do it that way.
Right.
You know, I appreciate you trying to do it, but I don't do it that way.
Right.
And while we've been home, I find that I need to stay out of his way. He needs to stay out of my way. And it's hard when you can't go anywhere.
Right. Okay. So redefining roles is huge because I just told my husband with my adult children home, I said, I am confused who I am. I'm not mommy anymore. So I don't want to make dinner every night. I don't want to go to the grocery store because PS, it's like a science project to enter a store. In addition to the fact I hate grocery shopping, now I have to be like mask, gloved, gowned, like with all this stuff. I forget my mask half the time. I have to turn around. I don't want to wait in line. And then I've got adult children that are quite capable of making dinner on their own, but they still expect me in the mommy role. And it's like I said, it's not Christmas. I'm not making all the dinners. I'm not rolling out family night. And I run a business and a ministry at the same time. And they're not used to me in that role, Shell. So defining our roles and the role confusion on women, I think has been really hard. Plus teacher role. Are you in teacher role too?
Yes.
Like monitoring kids' role. And, you know, by the grace of God, I have a super responsible daughter. I've had an excellent school that's like jumped in there, but I feel bad too, because when we've been doing life and I'm in my room writing books and writing blogs and doing these podcasts, she's in school next door in the other room. And so I don't have the normal break of a day where I get to go pick her up and take her to school and those normal moments. It's been really stressful.
Right. And I feel like everyone has their own schedules too. Just because I have 2 kids in school at home, one is on a completely different schedule than the other one. And Scott's on a different schedule, you know, than I'm on. Right. And exactly. It is really, really, it is wonderful in the sense, I feel you have to look at the silver linings through all of this, that we're home. Thank goodness we're healthy. we're safe, we can be home, and it's almost time that we're not, that we've never had all together like this. And with, growing kids, it's nice to get that time because they're not going to be for much longer. So that's been a really big blessing. Mm-hmm. But yes, I find that that's exactly it. It's being respectful of each other's time and space and not having the time that you normally do to get things done.
Right. Or even having the preparation in advance to be like, okay, here's how we're going to roll this out. It just kind of happened all of a sudden. Like I know the day my husband flew our kids home, I was so happy that my college kids were coming home and so freaked out at the same point because I thought, I am afraid to even go to the I can't do all the normal preparations. I don't have all the rooms mapped out. I'm in the middle of so much transition myself. And so again, it's just really difficult to navigate this. And yet I feel the same way. I'm so appreciative we're all healthy. Right. I'm so appreciative. So I really want to clarify to our listeners that what we're doing, Shelley, the reason why you and I got on this is to reach out to other women to say you're not alone in the struggles of living in a crisis situation, in the middle of a crisis in your home. The whole world is going crazy around us, but there are just normal struggles for the average person too.
Right. And the struggles that I feel are even more compounded right now,
right?
Because your home, you might have been struggling before this, and you needed your space, and now you don't have that space,
right?
And I was talking earlier to you, Tracy, about it. It's almost like when you retire for the first time, and you're sitting there looking at your husband, saying, "Wow, we're not going off to work. What are we going to do?"
Right.
So, and then I'm worried also about, separation or divorce. I mean, we're going through a really stressful time economically, financially, no one knows what's going to happen. So it is very hard. It's hard to remain calm and focused and do everything like you were doing because you just can't. You try to, but you really just can't.
Right. And, I really think in this time together, Shell, just kind of being honest and talking about the average struggles is really helpful because I think number one, we all have to realize that we have to lower our expectations because right now as moms and wives, and I didn't do enough of a good job of this, but just like reminding our kids and our families, we're in a difficult time. This is unprecedented. We might not do everything the right way. We're doing our best with what we have right now.
Right.
But it's not going to be perfect and we're going to make mistakes and we're going to learn and grow and it's okay. So I think just kind of normalizing the unnormal, if that's even possible, but just being like, we're doing the best we can with the situation we have, because for me, when I put the high demands, and I feel like it should be Christmas and I should have, these, some parents are having like parties for dinner and everybody's dressing up. And I'm thinking,
yes, no, that's not happening in my house. No,
I'm like, why is this not fun for me? I'm like barely like reheating a lasagna and angry about it.
I know. I don't know about you, but cooking, 3 meals a day. Yeah, it's really been very, very stressful and very, very challenging.
It is. And not to be awful, but it is. And it's just like, but then I have some friends that are baking bagels and posting the recipes online and people that are making, and that's their jam and they love it. You know what I mean? So there's always that, in that blessing, there's always like some kind of burden I guess we could focus on, but like just, really continuing with our conversation of marriage in the middle of a crisis, I think lowering expectations is huge.
Absolutely. And I think kind of figuring out how to stay connected, through it too. If your husband's working from home and, you want to come at the end of the day, still talk about your day, you're together. So sometimes that's hard to feel connected and stay connected. So that's where I feel kind of these roles and boundaries, you still kind of have to have that. And then maybe you can find the time to come together at night and just connect. I think it's really important to connect. It sounds really, here you are in a home 24/7, but sometimes you just don't feel like even talking or getting up or doing anything, but you really do need to connect. What do you think about that?
Totally. It's been really hard. So my husband's in a critical role, or like a critical company or whatever they say it is. So it has a lot of military defense, kind of those kind of things. So his job has ramped up. So when the whole world is kind of shutting down and slowing down for 2 solid weeks, Shelley, he was ramped up where we were like passing in the night. And I was like, that's too long. But what I realized is, instead of doing what you said about connecting, what I did was I did my own thing. And so I just went off in my world and he did his thing. Not good. Because I do think, you know, the other day I was so convicted in my heart, like, okay, my primary role as a wife, if I lose out on that, I lose everything. So I've got to stop my busyness and be emotionally supportive to my husband and make those moments count, you know. And I think we both kind of realized, you know, obviously there's going to be times when our husbands are just really busy at work and they're trying to get through it, you know. Right. But at the end of that, we need to be intentional as wives to make special moments and to be mindful of that, be aware, be intentional, you know, and not just like be like, oh, at the end of this crisis. Well, no, at the end of the day, you know, I need to be a little more intentional as a wife.
Right.
So,
right. And
yeah.
I feel too that the boundaries, I mean, it's nice when you have a little bit of a schedule, and it's
Right.
hard to keep a schedule when you're home, but it is nice to have your own schedule. He has his schedule, even though you're home, and when you're off in the office or at work, you have your own schedules. But if you're home, sometimes those can get a little mixed up. You know, what's my role? What's his role?
Right.
But I feel like you need to have your own schedule, your own roles, and have that be pretty clear, so that I think that's a good way to communicate, just to know what each other's roles are, boundaries, and then you have more to talk about and more to come together at the end of the day too.
Right. So awesome point. So actually rhythm and routine is very calming and normalizing in the middle of a crisis. So what I found is when I start getting stressed, sometimes I will pull out of walking, or I'll pull away from talking to friends. And it's so regenerating when you just stop and you keep or not stop, when you start your little routine and you say, you know what, for 30 minutes, I am going to go walk today. For, 20 minutes, I am going to take a break and have time to call a friend, or, even us reaching out, it's very helpful to have routine things that keep that normal rhythm going, even though things are very abnormal. So Shelley, what I've learned is there's like a growth mindset we can learn, we can get better from what we're learning right now in our marriages, or there's a fixed mindset, which is it's always going to be this way. I can't do anything better. This is just me. This is how it is. And so I feel like if nothing else, quarantine can be an opportunity for a growth mindset to say, you know what, there's some new things, some new areas of growth. In our struggles, I can find areas to grow in. And I know I have found that for myself.
100%.
Just realizing that my role as a wife and a mom is really important to me. And I run a business and I do a lot of other things, but that is never, even in time of a crisis, going to be more important than my family. And so to turn it off and to learn balance for the future is important. I don't know what you feel like maybe some of your growth learning curves have been.
I think so. I think you're exactly right. I think realizing the importance of family and being home, and that this is just such a precious time, like I said, that we're not going to get back like this, and we can all learn together. I mean, we have kids, like you said, that are capable, and so maybe they're doing things and pitching in, doing things that they didn't do before. So as a family, we're learning how to it's nice sometimes you don't realize how resilient we are, right, and how we can just step it up a notch and do things differently, like you said. So I think that has been a blessing, right? Just to learn that way. But yeah, it's just been hard because I feel like almost every day is the same. We still, I don't know about you, but everything's closed still. Right. You guys are it hard for sure. So it's hard, if you just want to go for a drive or get out and do the little things that you appreciate. But I think that's been the hardest. And, sometimes you want to take it out on anybody. So I feel like, sometimes you're at each other's throats just because of the stress that you're facing, and you don't really have an outlet like you normally would have an outlet. Right. But, which reminds me of something else. I think when we're talking about marriage, I think it's so important to truly like your husband. And I feel like sometimes you realize it through these times that you really do need to like your person. Right. because everything has been stripped away. You know, it's just the two of you or your family. And, you know, you really do have to find things in common and talk about those, because you don't have anything else right now. It's just the two of you.
Right.
So that's sometimes the challenge of it too, is sometimes, you know, you really at the end of the day have to find things in common to talk about, even though you sometimes feel like you've run out of everything.
Right. And just those intentional, I mean, it just goes back to those intentional moments. And, you know, one of the gifts my mom always gave me, she was like, hey, marriage is work, you know, and I feel like it is work to like your spouse, because it's so easy to take them for granted. It's so easy, you know, in the pressure of all this to just, I mean, the financial pressures, Shelley, people are facing, the work pressures. I mean, it is not easy, you know, and, you know, you said it's precious, but I was like, it's pressurous. I mean, too, because it is precious, but it's pressurous. Like the stress on couples right now is a lot. And yet, I think to really be intentional to love Mark and support him, that's my calling. That's my gift that I need to be giving him, and not just demanding that he support me, but like actually the other day I wrote him a little note. I haven't done this in a while, but I did. I wrote him a little note of encouragement. We have this little box where we write each other back and forth. We haven't done it for quite some time, but I left it on the bed and just said, thank you for working so hard for us. And it's amazing how when you push into doing something positive for your spouse, that it just like, it reminds you of that good story. You know what I mean? Of liking them, of thinking this guy is great. I appreciate you. And so finding ways to remind ourselves of the positive things, and liking that we like, that we love about our spouse.
Well, I'm also getting a firsthand experience of what he does. You know, I hear of what he does, but to actually see it, you know, how hard they work, you know, when you're out of the house.
Right.
You know, I think for me, when I'm a stay-at-home mom, so for me, I feel like my job out of all of us, you know, he has pressures beyond, my husband beyond, you know, I can even imagine the financial pressures, but I kind of am holding everyone together and dealing with all that. So it's all of a sudden, you know, I would just have kind of my schedule and the kids would go off and I'd be able to do what I needed to do. And now it's everyone's at home. So I feel like I'm the one who really is working harder than anyone else in many ways, because I am a stay-at-home mom. So I feel for those other stay-at-home moms too, you know, and you're working. So you're working, but then you have the expectations of being the stay-at-home mom, you know, for your kids and your family.
Right.
So which is a double whammy.
Which has been really, again, confusing. Even to me, I'm like, who am I? What am I supposed to be? You know what I mean? Because I can't just let everything go. I can't just drop and run on what I do. But, you know, I feel like there has been a blessing in all this too, because I feel like it's okay for our kids to realize that life is hard, that, you know, we're going to work this out together, and that our needs aren't always met. You know what I mean? And so it's okay. You know, it's going to be okay. And I have some conversations I'm going to have with them after all this. And, you know, even after we've talked, maybe after some of the people have listened to us today, maybe there's some conversations we can go back and have, you know, looking back, you know, hey, I wasn't there, and moving forward, I want you to know you are the priority. You know, it's never too late to turn around and repair and mend. And the other day I realized my daughter has kind of been on her own with school. I honestly have not been able to just monitor it. So I went early in the morning. I went to Panera with my mask and gloves, and I got her her favorite breakfast sandwich that we used to get on the way to school. That was our favorite thing to do together, Shell, was just to go get breakfast. And I put it on her dresser, and I said, Happy Daughter's Day. It's not Daughter's Day, but I just wanted her to know, like, I love you. And there's been times where we've been just like, or missing, or she's like, can you do my hair? And I'm saying, no. Can you help me with math? No, you know, but I can make one small impact. You know, I can try to do things in the future that, you know, kind of strengthen the relationships around me. You know?
I think things that we took for granted, you know, as humans, it's just human nature. You just take things for granted. But I agree. I'm doing, you know, an aerobics class in the basement with my daughter that I would never get to do, or maybe baking, you know, or taking a walk with my son that, you know, he doesn't have time because he's going off to soccer. But I think you're right. I think if you come from a place of gratitude, it does, it really can, especially like if you start your day off just being appreciative for what your husband is doing, and watching that. And then, you know, just say, hey, thank you. I'm really seeing firsthand what you're doing. And then being validated, because then he feels validated, you feel validated, and everyone wants to feel that they're being heard at the end of the day. So I think that you're right. I think that that's a really nice place to start. And then I think it just makes you feel better. Just in a very kind of, you know, hard time where it's hard to feel better.
Right.
And we don't know when we'll feel better. That is a nice thing. That's something we can do. We can't control a lot of what's happening, but we can control our relationships. And, you know, try, like we said, to find those silver linings day in and day out.
Right.
So I agree. I know because of our conversations and my conversations with my friends that everyone is feeling this way.
Right.
And it is
everybody.
Yeah. There was no preparation. There was no way to prepare. I mean, it's tight quarters. You know, the joke is, where are you going to go this weekend? Okay, in another room. You know, I mean, it is just
night in a car, Shelley. We did this night in a car, just sitting there, and I was so happy to get out of my house. I was so happy. It's just,
or a walk, or to do takeout, you know, and like you said, we will look back on this and hopefully be able to do things differently and appreciate things. But it is funny. I think for me that just boundaries and having validation, you know, and just being appreciative can really help. And I found that, you know, not always, but I think as a whole that has helped. And and it's work, like you said, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. So last, before we go, another thing I really miss is the support of good friends and conversations with good friends. So today I socially distanced and I did go on my first walk with friends, and it's amazing how much women need women. You know what I mean? Like, our whole story in life is not just our marriage and our family, but we need other women. And so I'm hoping, Shelley, that this conversation will reach other women that are just like, I think I'm going crazy, when they're not. You know, these are struggles that everybody's happening. I think there's power in numbers. If we can say, you know, I know there's big, giant issues going on in the world, and those get discussed on news every night. So we're not undermining that. But in the story of your home, for your marriage, that you can know that you're not alone, that it is not roses and, you know, beautiful, perfect moments every day having our kids home, that it's okay to have normal feelings, but there's some really cool choices we can make in the midst of it. I hope that our talk today kind of reaches out to women all over, you know, coast to coast, all the way across, and that people can feel like they can find just a little thing that we talked about to relate to, and
connect. And we just need to connect and tell each other stories. And, you know, you can relate. Everyone can relate, and we just want to relate. We want to give each other hugs, and we can't right now. So I think you're right. The best thing is just to talk and to help each other through conversation, and to be open and authentic and real about what's going on in our homes, because it isn't easy. And sometimes you just want to cry, and that's okay. But it is nice to be able to talk. And so I'm really happy that we started the conversation, Tracy, and just to see where it goes. And I know that everyone has their own story and what works and what doesn't, but hopefully we can help and give some support. And I know that you have an outlet too for women to have support as well.
Yeah, so I've started some coaching groups, but I also want to just, if anyone's listening, savemymarriagestory.com. It sounds a little dramatic, Save My Marriage Story, but what it is just 7 devotionals that encourage people in their marriage to strengthen and encourage your marriage. And we use savemymarriagestory.com just because it also has links to James Dobson's show. If anyone wants to hear about my past struggles in marriage, they can hear the show. And then each week they'll get just a marriage inspirational email. Are you signed up for my emails yet, Shelley?
I am. I know. I'm very slow to social media. Thank goodness for technology. And you know what? I'm very inspired, not expired, inspired. Not yet. I'm inspired to get going with technology. So thank goodness for technology. Yes, but I do have your email. So
okay, good.
And
awesome. Yeah, and just we wanted to encourage other women into the conversation. Hey, if you've been listening to us and there's something you really want to share, maybe a marriage struggle, maybe a bit of advice. Shelley, we might get some good advice from people out there.
I'm sure we will.
You know, thoughts. You're not alone. I don't know. Can you think of anything else to reach out to women about right now?
Yeah, just support. Would love to hear your story, you know, of what's going on with you, and to learn from each other, support each other, and just offer any support.
Right. So here's to marriages in the middle of a crisis. We're just really reaching out to when spouse is in the house and trying not to force divorce.
I love it. You're a poet and you didn't even know it, Tracy.
There you go. All right. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll be talking to you soon.